Lots of people in Brown Hill live in lovely bush blocks, and there are a number of older bush blocks north of the freeway. For example, the residential blocks located along Jansen Road and Stringybuck Drive consist of small acreages between 2 and 5 acres, and they're lifestyle blocks. There are approximately 50 households in these two roads, with only one entry and exit point along Springs Road. The majority of the blocks are well established, 20 to 30 years, with newer housing along Stringybuck Drive. Other bush blocks are located along Springs Road and Hillview Road. Kevin, could you provide us with your evaluation of the bushfire risk for households living on bush blocks north of the freeway, such as those living in Jansen Road and Springback Drive?
Yeah, well, I guess here the main difference that we have from, say, the older part of Brown Hill is that the houses are well separated, so the chance of house ignition is relatively minimal. But instead, what we have here is an issue where the bushfire is actually able to move freely through this landscape. And so what we have here is, again, the potential with a fire coming from the northwest or west or southwest, coming in this direction, reaching the hill to our west, and basically as the fire runs to the top, it'll throw embers and start spot fires in this area. We would have potentially hundreds of fires starting within a few minutes in this area. So the potential for entrapment in this area is quite high. And with that, the access and egress to this area would be seriously compromised as well, because there are only a few roads in and out here. So we're in Jansen Road here at the moment, but it's the same whether you're in Springs Road or in Springybark Drive. The chance of a tree coming across the road or a power line coming across the road would severely compromise your ability to get in or out of an area once a fire has reached here. So the importance of planning here is much more vital, if you like, because you've got fewer other options to deal with. And the likelihood of getting firefighting and their equipment in here is even less likely. It would be in a more built-up area. So people need to be much more self-reliant here. So with the potential for a large number of spot fires starting in this area, it would be really important to have your house and your land well prepared in advance of the fire, because there'll be more than enough things to do in the event of a fire to deal with the fire at the time of the day. But you have an additional problem here too as well, that under conditions that might be, say, high, very high, or just severe fire weather conditions, you could still have quite a significant fire in this location. So we're not only talking about the extreme and the catastrophic conditions here, because of the grass and because of the forest and the trees through here, there's enough continuity of the fuel for a fire to be able to run through this landscape uninterrupted by a few roads and a few houses. So you're actually right in the bushfire here. So it's a very different sort of environment that we're dealing with here.
So what are some things that you would recommend to people who live in this part of Brown Hill that should be incorporated into their fire plan?
Well, they need to think very carefully, I guess, about what they think they're actually going to do. And they've got to think about not just themselves and their family, but also any animals they might have. So having blocks like this, you're much more likely to have pets or domestic animals. So you might have chooks, you might have horses, you may have dogs. They may not necessarily seem the highest priority at the time, but very few people are able to leave animals behind knowing that they're going to be subject to a bushfire. So you have to plan for what you're going to do with the animals. You have to plan also how you're going to defend your house in the event that it's not a really big blow-up day, but a fire has started perhaps a kilometre away, and your house is likely to be impacted. So you've got a very short period of time where you can actually take action. So unless you're well prepared, well in advance of the fire season, you're not going to have enough time to do the preparation of removing things like doormats or shifting your wood heap, or even blocking your gutters or cleaning your gutters out. Those sort of things have to be done regularly and well in advance. So, and everyone in the family has to know what they're expected to do. Now that's sounds simple, you can talk about it, but talking about it is really not enough. You need to try and document what you're planning to do and practice it. And what you'll find when you try to practice it is it won't work first time. You actually find that in trying to do it, you come up with all of these stumbling blocks, things you hadn't actually thought of. And another one that ends up happening in severe fire situations is you end up in darkness. People think, well, it's the middle of the day, but because of the smoke and the all the soot in the air and so on, things become quite dark. And so unless you're well prepared for that, and that's quite scary in itself, but also it's debilitating if you can't see where you're going. You have to have torches and the like. So there's a lot to really get your head around, and to think that you're going to think of all of those things an hour before the fire hits is just a pipe dream. It's not going to happen. So being involved in your local community, talking about these things, looking at websites that might have useful resources. Some of those might be community websites, like the Brown Hill website, but also looking at other fire agencies' websites, and getting yourself as well educated and informed as possible opens you to a lot of the possibilities of what you could really experience, because it'll be horrendous enough at the time, and there'll be some variations to it. No two experiences will ever be the same, but if some of those things are expected, it makes the unexpected things a little easier to deal with.
Thanks very much, Kevin.